Hi snake lovers! So last time I showed you my albino boa constrictor, and I told in that video that I have quite the polar opposite of an albino, which is an IMG, which stands for increasing melanin gene, so basically a black snake. This is the dude. So this little guy is called Nox. Nox in Latin means night. And as you can see, he's quite dark. He is in fact a common boa, so a boa constrictor imperator. His age is about 1 year and 3 months, so he's quite young. And regarding this gene, so it's very interesting that these snakes start out as basically normal looking boas, and with each shed they get darker and darker until they get almost solid black. Now this dude, he is IMG het Anery, so he has the potential of having anerythristic babies which lack the red pigment. He himself is not an Anery visually, but he is a visual IMG. You can tell the IMG gene also sometimes by these patterns, that his patterns are like these ovals instead of the squares. And he started out as a normal looking boa. So as a baby he looked quite the same as Melvin, but he gets darker and darker with every age, on the belly as well as on the backside. So I really like him. He has very beautiful iridescence, so when light shines on him, he shines like this blue color, blue-green. And the reason is that people think that snakes are slimy. They are not. They are wonderful to touch. They have the most gorgeous texture ever. But people think they are slimy because they are shiny. And they are shiny because when the light hits them in the right spot, their scales reflect the light and have this iridescence. The blacker the snake, the better the iridescence. And if you've seen some pictures of some IMGs which are completely black, they look like oil stains on water, so they reflect gorgeous blue sheen. Now this guy obviously is not entirely black. He will get quite darker with age, but he will still have these patterns. And this is because he's just an IMG. But if you combine IMG with something like a motley, you get a solid black snake. And I have two females. One is a Central American, so CA motley, het Black Devil, so RDRB. And the second one is a Colombian motley, and she's Colombian Anery motley with the possibility of being a VPI, which is not proven, so I will prove that in the future. The CA girl is quite sizable for her age. She's the same age as him. The Colombian motley girl, Molly, she's not that big, but she's a yearling as well, but she's still small. So he will need to wait for at least another year or two before getting some action with the ladies, but he's a stunner. I don't know if you can see, but he has, it's not showing good on the video, but he has like copper eyes, which is so beautiful when you have a dark snake with like this really copper looking or bronze looking eyes. He's stunning. Now this morph is costly, depends on what your income is. For me it was. I paid about $500 to $600, I'm not very sure. It was 12,500 Czech crowns. So he is my most expensive morph that I own currently, but it was worth it because IMG is actually a dominant gene. So it either shows or doesn't, and there's a high possibility that his offspring will be in fact IMGs visually, which is perfect. There's never a het IMG. I don't know if the camera will pick up his eyes, but yeah, it really doesn't show through, but he's gorgeous. Now, one of the interesting things is that to my understanding, I never delve deep into the history of the morphs, but they come from the wild, I think. I know that the guy who registered this morph, or proved out the morph, basically saw some babies which were darker, and he noticed they are getting darker and darker. But I'm not really sure if this happened in captivity or in the wild. However, what is the thing I wanted to say is I think that these are from the Centralian American lines. So they are not like the Colombian variety of the common boa. And hence, I think it's true because they tend to have a temper. Nox here today is quite cooperative and he's usually nice. But he is the most temperamental of all my boas. So when he wants to be a jerk, he is a jerk. So sometimes it's not that fun to work with him, but honestly, I've worked with snakes for very long, and this guy just bluff strikes, but I've never been bitten by him in any way, shape or form. I've been bitten by reticulated pythons a lot. I mean, the hatchlings, when you work with them, they are then perfect, but as hatchlings, retics are interesting, to say the least, as well as males during the breeding season. But for boas, I was bitten actually only by one of my boas, which will be his future girlfriend Maya. She's the Central American motley, Poshet Erda or Black-Eyed Devil. But this dude definitely has his attitude and he likes to strangle a lot. So I'll do a video about safe handling of large and giant constrictors. I own a Burmese python and a reticulated python. I owned some before these two small ones. My Burmese is just a baby now, and my reticulated python is about 4.5 feet long. So they are not particularly big, but I owned pure Sumatran lines of reticulated pythons, and I had a Burmese python before that, which was sizable. And I worked with green anacondas as well. So I think I can share some tips and tricks on how to handle even giant and large snakes. But the thing is that you should never actually put your snake, once it's some size, around your neck. Or it can be very difficult to get them off, and accidents can happen. Because they don't actually, like if I will put Nox around my neck, he will not have this I will just kill you now attitude. But they like to hang on. And what I noticed with this guy, he does actually the same thing as a Burmese python, which is that he makes a knot with his tail. So he tucks his tail under his body and he squeezes. And it's really hard to get him off. And the more you struggle, sometimes it can irritate them and they can squeeze a little bit more. Accidents can happen. Obviously this snake is not capable of killing you yet, but when he will be like 6 feet, which I don't know if IMGs get that big, but if he will be like 6 feet for a male, probably will be very cautious of putting him around my neck unsupervised. But to be honest, I will show you how to handle these snakes when they are big, and you actually never need to worry because you will not let them wrap around your neck anyway. Now it's a funny thing, perhaps I should insert it here. Constrictors and now I mean all constrictors, not only the boa constrictors, they do not suffocate their prey. We think that they choke you out, and in some sort of sense they do, but it's not that they stop your breathing. They actually, when they have a mouse or something, or a rat or rabbit, or in case of retics sometimes us or apes, they squeeze so hard that they stop the blood flow to the brain, and this will cause basically brain death, which can happen in a few seconds. So you should always be careful while handling large and giant snakes. I think over 6 feet is a little bit too. It depends on who you are. If you are like a very petite person, a 6-foot snake is handful. If you are like a non-petite, non-giant person, then I think 8 feet, but definitely over 10 feet I would say for the most people, even if you are like Mike Jordan size, you should have a second person on hand or be very careful. And once we're talking about the giant snakes, you should definitely have a second person on hand just in case things go awry. Because the snake can just hold too tight. It can just squeeze a little bit more and then accidents can happen. We want to avoid this because, well, first of all, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to clean up the mess. But it hurts the hobby. These snakes are not monsters. These snakes are awesome animals, awesome pets. They are so sweet, so spectacular, and so unbelievably rewarding to work with. And they are not monsters at all. The only monsters from the animal world are sometimes humans. Not always, but sometimes. People kill more people than other animals. But these guys have the unfortunate thing that they get big. And once they get big, and they are super strong, and believe me, every big snake is stronger than you. So accidents can happen. And we want to avoid this because we want to spread the love for these animals, not the fear. We want to overcome fear. We don't want laws to be passed for regulating these snakes, in the sense, if the proper care is the subject, I'm all for it. If somebody will hold a reticulated python in a small tub, or these guys without the possibility to actually climb around and explore, I'm all for that. The well-being of the animal is #1 priority, but we need to listen to people who know what they are speaking about. Not, for example, me, but like Kevin from Nerd, or Brian Barczak is also a good ambassador. So people who care for big and giant snakes and know a lot more than any of us. So, and we just shouldn't put sentimental value and humanize snakes, in the sense you can't put a corn snake in a whole room of place because it will be lost and it will feel stressed. So it's good for us to have big space. Sometimes snakes just want to squeeze somewhere and be in a tight spot. But what is important, what I want to say, we don't want to pass or encourage prohibition laws for these snakes just because some uneducated and reckless keepers do stupid stuff and pay for it. And then the whole hobby pays for that as well. And we don't want to portray these snakes as monsters, because they are not. They are precious, wonderful animals. And to me, somebody asks, you have pet snakes? I always say, no, I have no pets. These are my friends. I share my life with them, and I feel, if I can say so, blessed to share my life with these wonderful animals. So thank you anyway for watching. This was Nox. He's the IMG at Anery. Say hi. Have a great day and love your snakes.